Systems in place for support. Quickly want to talk about that now. One of the criticisms we've had with transients of property managers, if you guys that are out there as owners and you've had the same property manager for a long period of time, fantastic. We do have a lot of property managers on our team who've been with us for a long period of time. The likes of Jenny and Cheryl have both been with us for longer than 6 years. Extremely lucky if that's the case that you've got those property managers, that you've got that continuity. One of the criticisms we've had is in relation to continuity, and we've actually had people say to us, listen, I have to explain to my property manager every time what's actually occurring. We want to assure you that we actually have systems in place that are actually giving our property managers, the new ones coming in, the opportunity to find out the details about the property. That being REST, I'll just get Carolyn to quickly explain, just briefly, I suppose the extent of what REST can do in relation to note taking and passing on that information to the next PM. Yeah. How does that work?
So REST is the computer system for the property management, and where we have all the details and everything set up on the property. And aside that is FileSmart, which work hand in hand together. FileSmart is probably more for the keeping of all the documents, all the maintenance that's been done on the property, emails back and forth to an owner, tenant regarding the property. So the property managers have the access to file everything and have that at their fingertips on the computer to access the history of your property, basically. And in REST itself, there's what's called the action notes for every conversation that we may have with a tenant about rent, maintenance, the same with an owner, of what's been going on with your property, save any text messages that we may send through the system.
Now, the system is the downfall to the system is human error, and it's extremely busy in property management. Any property manager will tell you that it's very much a reactive industry where you've got to drop everything for maintenance issues, drop everything to do things immediately for tenants, landlords, etc. Sometimes those notes get missed, and if that is the case, we apologise for that, but we have the systems in place in order that our girls, they miss notes in there, that's human error. And sometimes we have found that, yes, you are telling people a couple of times in relation to what's going on, but the situation is the notes were there and they just weren't read. So apologies about that, but they are there, believe me, we've got the records in place. Another criticism that we've had is in relation to the increased expenses surrounding marketing in regard to when your property becomes vacant. We've entered into an agreement with realestate.com and now also Domain to get to the highest level of advertisement on your property. The reason behind that is simple. It is extremely competitive out there. We recommend professional photography on your home so that it is actually presenting in its best possible light. When somebody clicks on, you want to get the opportunity to get the first tenant to have a look through the property, because it's so competitive out there in the marketplace that you need to have the best advertising. I can't apologise for the cost associated with that. Realestate.com and Domain are the two major portals in relation to getting your advert out there for your property. You need to be on them, and the prices that we've negotiated, what are we looking at now for realestate.com?
So it's $159 for a property in the Darwin northern suburbs and $110 for Palmerston.
And the Domain, which we're currently covering, is costing us $50 a property.
Yep.
To have that on as a priority placement, or actually a premier, or whatever they call it, I can't remember, but it's the top the top advert. It guarantees you that you're getting the best chance of finding a tenant, and at the end of the day, it's less than 1 week's rent for 99% of the 99% of the properties that we manage. So if we get a tenant for you 7 days faster, which we actually average around about 14 days faster than the total competitor market over the last 2 years, clearly it's working. It's obviously, if it saves you $700, 2 weeks rent at $350 and costs you $150, got to be a good deal. Has to be a good deal there. And I can't apologise for that. It just is. It's the market. It's where we're actually at.